Welcome back to the Webby and O'Neill channel. Is Manchester United's search for a striker still alive? After club-to-club talks with Aston Villa for Ollie Watkins were blocked, Benjamin Sesko seems too expensive, but is the key to all of this and bringing a striker in player sales? Get involved with your opinions in today's chat and we'll try and discuss some of your comments throughout today's video. Your first thoughts, you're giving me a smile.
Yeah, I'm giving you a smile.
Yeah, go on.
A striker is definitely on the cards. The search is still on, but it's sell to buy. It's sell to buy because if you look at the start of the transfer window, the men in suits had 3 targets. They got 2. They wanted to bring them in before the pre-season in America. They've achieved that. But unfortunately, the striker, what the club and Rúben Amorim looked at, Liam Delap, didn't want to come to Manchester United. So that's no fault of the club. So they're out there now. They've got a budget. They knew what they were doing. They had a plan. And that went astray with a striker. And a striker now, as we all know, costs a lot of money, regardless of what you or I think of the quality.
Yeah, the latest on Ollie Watkins from Fabrizio Romano. In a nutshell, it says that club-to-club talks did happen for Ollie Watkins, but Aston Villa want to keep the player. Is this a bit of public posturing, what you do normally get for clubs where they put that out there, we're not selling the player, we want to keep him. It's because they want the actual transfer fee they want, and it's a big one.
No, I think what it is when you look at United, they haven't got the money. I think they had a budget. I think that's what they planned for. They wanted Liam Delap, 30 million. Have they got more than that? I don't think so, to raise the bar and go and get the striker who's definitely good enough for Manchester United, Premiership experience and score goals. I think that's what it is. I think what United have had to do until they actually sell, and that is the problem. We have to sell to bring in the extra money, because when they set the plan out, they wasn't expecting to pay 60, 70, 80 million for a striker. I think what United have been doing, as I see it, I look around at all the stories, everything, and everything seems to be Manchester United are monitoring players and they're waiting to see if they can free up cash. That's how I see it. I think United, not just the budget, but the plan was to bring in 3 players. I think when you look at midfield, goalkeeper, anything like that, I don't think they were in the plan. So I think they're still on track. And what they're hoping for is to keep monitoring players. We've seen players like Osimhen and all that, Gyökeres, all that, all being discussed. But all they were doing was monitoring because they never had the cash. So until we sell, and I don't really see much money coming in on player sales, to be honest with you. But that is how it is. They are just monitoring and waiting for the moment any cash is freed up. There's a couple of quid there. We know that. But how much? But not the big money where you can just go out. Them days are over now. Look, them days are over where United just go out and go, he's the target, put the money on the table. It's not there. Many situations I look at and think to myself, that's why the money's not there. That's why the money's not there. But it's clear as daylight as far as I'm concerned. They're just monitoring until cash is freed up. So I think we're just going to have to sit down, relax and just wait and hope.
When you say gone are the days, you look back over the recent years in the 90s, etc. And, you know, Manchester United, Isak looks like he's moving from Newcastle, the days where we went up there and bought Andy Cole, Ollie Watkins as well. We went to Aston Villa and just paid it for Dwight York. But them days have gone. And I think I've always been realistic with yourself about this summer transfer window and the calibre of players that we can buy and also the transfer fees that we can actually spend as well.
Yeah, I think what Rúben Amorim and the men in suits, especially Sir Jim Ratcliffe, are all coping with is the mismanagement of what's gone on over the years. They've just splashed the cash in a mad way. Absolute madness what's happened. But when you go further back, like Kieron says, going up to Newcastle, we want Andy Cole, hero up there. Okay, and the same thing's happening with Isak at the moment with Liverpool. So we went up there. No one ever thought Andy Cole would come to mind. But United just went up there and says, that's the player we want. Bang, there's the money. And we've done it with loads. Ferdinand, for instance, centre-half. We've done it all the time. But them days are over. And like, putting cost and everything is what it's all about now.
Yeah, it's not that them days were over when Fergie left. They still continued. It was just the
management.
it was the manner of the actual recruitment and the player profiles we were bringing into the club. The majority of players who come here were just looking at the wages, and that's what a lot of it was down to with the players. And that's why we're seeing a lot of underperformance, stinking attitude, bad negativity from inside the dressing room. And, you know, we're actually currently paying for all that mismanagement right now, and that started at the top with the Glazers. And like I say, we're still paying for it. But with me, Ollie Watkins has been my #1 choice, not even just at the start of this transfer window. It's a player that I've liked for a couple of years now. Even when all that hype was going on around Ivan Toney, I always mentioned Ollie Watkins, and that same season his goals got Villa into the Champions League for that following season.
Yeah, I look at the Ollie Watkins situation, right, and I think he might have a word soon, and he might come out with a statement and say, like, I want to move, and I think that might push it on. Whether it's Manchester United, we're not fully sure, but United want him. They're monitoring him. They're asking about him. That's been confirmed, and I like that. But I just look at it and I think there could be a deal. How do we do a deal? Could Garnacho go there? He's the only one I see where we're going to get any decent money. Then you look at Anthony. Do we sell him? Will he be sold? I'm not too sure. I think there's a loan move there. So I think there might be a possibility where the conversation goes on, where Ollie Watkins speaks to United's representatives, sorts out his contract details and all that, and then it's just down to the two clubs. But did they want Garnacho? There's reports out there, but I take them reports with a pinch of salt. I can't see anyone in the Premier League coming for him. So I just look at Garnacho and I think to myself, it's going too slow. As a United fan, I think to myself, this is going too slow. The target's what we want. We need the money. So getting a top target always won the day when we had the cash, and we haven't got it now. And is Ollie Watkins the top target? Well, if you look round, he's not the top target when it comes to striker, when it comes to value for money. But what United need is someone who is a proven goal scorer. He's got a couple of years left in his legs, but I would have preferred someone who was younger. The club would have preferred someone younger, but we do need a striker. You just heard stories coming out. The players, they're all gearing up for European football. And how do you get that without a striker? We've got a misfiring striker. So for me, you know, I think we're just going to have to be patient. And we might not get a striker. We just might not get a striker, because I don't see who there is after Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, let us know what you think on that. But I do think the key to this, obviously, is player sales in order to bring a striker in. And I think it's Garnacho for me. He unlocks bringing a striker in.
Yes.
He's moved on and we actually get a transfer fee for him. Just going into the chat, I seen a comment earlier on, which I do tend to agree with, and it's called Slater the Red. Relying on sales will make us fall behind in all the options and they will be gone. We'll probably end up going for Calvert-Lewin on a free. Do you think we will get to that stage, that desperation, the end of the transfer window, where we do look around and go for some of the free transfers?
Well,
Hasn't Calvert-Lewin actually gone to West Ham?
I don't know, but look.
Let me know in the chat.
You know, relying on sales is a poor situation we're in. That's the state of the club. That's the mismanagement over the years. I did say the other week that we might just go near the end of the transfer window and have to bring somebody in as a loan or something like that, or a free transfer. Okay, you mentioned Calvert-Lewin. I'm not sure at this moment where he's gone. I'm not really interested in, to be honest with you, because it's an embarrassment having to be linked with someone like that. But that's the state of the club, and that's where it might end up, having to bring someone in as cover. So for me, sales are important, but there's only two players, and it's Garnacho and Anthony. You know, Rashford, you look at Rashford, you look at Sancho, what are they? They're only releasing wages, because I don't think you're going to get a fee. I don't care what anyone says for Sancho. He walks out at the end of the year. So it's just getting the wages off the bill, him and Rashford. That's how I look at it. So bringing in money. Where's the bids? Where's anyone? Where's the stories? Where the club's asking to buy Anthony? Where the club's asking to buy Garnacho? It's not there. So I think we're going to have to wait, and I think it's going to be last minute. How many times have we seen that? Bringing in players last minute or getting rid. So for me, sell to buy, yes, that's what we want, but we're going to get it. And I think the good times are over for a long time here with United. Splashing the cash is gone. getting Liam Delap at 30 million, that was the priority. That would have got them out of a right big hole. Now they're having to just keep monitoring players and hope that something changes.
Just look back on the actual Europa League final. If we'd have won that, things might have gone a little bit differently in this window in terms of freeing up some funds, and especially the type of targets we're currently going for now. Maybe we could have been going for the likes of a Gyökeres, etc. But I want to know your opinions on the current situation with a striker. There's a lot of people joining us right now throughout the world, to be honest with you. New Zealand, Australia, the USA, I'm seeing, and good old Manchester as well. So if you are joining us, let us know where you're joining from and get your opinions in on the chat. So, you know, you've given your opinion on it. Player sales, we think, is the key to unlocking getting a striker in. But do Manchester United wait, or do they try and go on to other targets in terms of positions in the team? A lot's been mentioned about the midfield, a goalkeeper, or do they wait?
No, I just look at it here. It was vital that United, and lots of yous out there said it, I said it, and I think it was the right call. Any players we're going to get, we have to get them in before the pre-season. I don't think that United are going to go for a midfielder, which a lot of people out there have been discussing with us for the last few days and, well, for a long time, really. Goalkeeper and all that. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think the money's there. You look at what they went for, and it was a striker first. So a striker should be before anything else. And I think when United, at the end of the season, they had a plan. Rúben Amorim had a plan, and they tried to execute it. And I can't complain about how they executed it. It's just that Liam Delap, the striker, what we need, didn't want to come to United. He chose somewhere else. You know, and how often in the past did that happen? They always come to Manchester United, regardless of what Mbeumo says. Mbeumo says we're the biggest club in the world. Everyone wants to play for Man United. But for some reason, Liam Delap chose Chelsea over Manchester United.
That's the thing. Chelsea went and got our #1 striking option in Liam Delap. They went and added João Pedro. And then Manchester United are being linked with a striker currently in their squad, like Nicholas Jackson, who it looks from the outside in that they actually don't want in the squad, and they're prepared to sell. And that's where United are currently at in this transfer market, and as a club in attracting any type of top players, I think, at the moment. But just a bit of an update on Benjamin Sesko, who has been discussed in today's video and around the Manchester United transfer news. This is coming from Ben Jacobs, that Newcastle are working today to try and agree personal terms with Benjamin Sesko. Leipzig prepared to sell, but not an easy deal for Newcastle in terms of the structure. However, a bid is anticipated soon. So
well, there's
another striker who's maybe getting shots off the list.
Well, there's that news there. It's what's missing from when you hear a United player, a striker, linked to Manchester United. They're sorting out the business to sort out personal terms. We're not hearing that from anywhere, sorting out a personal terms with a player. We're just inquiring, we're monitoring. That's all we're doing. The target was 30 million for a striker. After that, the fee's just gone right up, and United just made sure that they went and got Mbeumo, and they have to wait. We're going to get someone cheap, and I do fear, you know, I do fear that we're just going to bring in someone as a stopgap in case there's any injuries or anything up front. So for me, United have done the business, and they're just hoping, crossing the fingers, that money comes in. Desperate stakes, but Rúben Amorim got 2 out of 3. And when you look at it, if they're your targets, it's not bad. It's not bad. Problem is, from a United fan's point of view, this is like bottom. We're at the bottom, and it's not good enough. But there's nothing else we can do about it. That's the reality as I see it.
UTFR says we're not the only club to sound out players that aren't wanted. And I know you've just said about maybe, and some people in the chat as well, that the longer the window goes on, the highly likely that, you know, loan signings will come in or free agents. I don't see that. I just don't see that at all in the strategy and what's been said from inside the club, from the likes of Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, that they will not make any knee-jerk reactions. Now, they have made mistakes in the last 12 months in certain people coming into the club, your Dan Ashworths, etc. There's a bit of a list there, but I do not see him deviating from a strategy in terms of player recruitment, because if they did do, I mean, that's another sort of like a promise, you know, a plan that's sort of been ripped up again. And we don't want to see that. Surely it's about getting the right players in and not the wrong players in.
Well, what you don't want to see is a knee-jerk reaction. So I'm all for sticking with what we've got. And if we haven't got the budget to go out and pay for a striker, 60, 70, 80 million, then fine, stick with what you got. Get Rúben Amorim working with the players. But what it will do, it'll give you confidence that the plan, as what was discussed, the ideas they've got going forward and that won't change, and that the ideas won't change and the plan won't change with Rúben Amorim. So to go against what they've said, right, will put doubt in everyone's mind. They've made lots of mistakes since they've come in under Sir Jim Ratcliffe. You know, there's not that many good things what have happened. A lot of talk and all that. But to see and do a knee-jerk reaction, it'll just put doubt in all our minds again, as if to say they don't know what they're doing. So I would say, there's the plan. We didn't get 3 out of 3. We got 2 out of 3. Right, that's fine. Move on. Deal with what you've got. And Rúben Amorim, you've got all summer now. You've got the pre-season in America. Get it sorted and get these players playing football, because no one else is coming in.
It also maybe tell you a lot, especially in the next, I think, 7 to 10 days, that if there is no concrete interest, you know, from good sources out there, that United are going for that, say, a midfielder that people want, a goalkeeper, I do expect it then to just be a striker and a third signing, and that's us done for the transfer window, to be quite honest with you, because you'd expect him, you know, having club-to-club talks with Aston Villa, other clubs as well, as we've all heard the news around a striker, that to continue. But if they wanted really that midfielder and the goalkeeper, they'd go and get a deal done, surely.
It's only a striker.
And they'd just keep that on the back burner for a striker due to player sales.
No, the plan was a striker.
Yes, I get that.
And they're sticking to that.
You don't have to do one deal at a time, surely. I mean, this is meant to be Manchester United. They're saying the best in class in there. I mean, can't they juggle a couple of things at once? You know, speaking to a club for a striker, a midfielder or a goalkeeper, if they are interested in the market for that, instead of stalling later and later on in the window just to get a striker.
Look, they might not... Look, how I look at it, we're not going for a midfielder because we've got the idea, we've got a plan, and we've got players in here what will fit into the structure of what Rúben Amorim's got. So the men in suits will be saying, right, you're comfortable with the midfield? Fine. Yeah. That's what they've discussed. We're not going for a midfield player. Anyone at the back? Do you need anyone at the back? No. Right. So what do you want? Well, I want Kuna, I want Mbumo, and I want a striker. And my striker, there you go. By the way, that's the only striker we can afford because we've only got 30 million. So the idea of like, going for a midfielder late on or someone at the back or a goalkeeper and all that is not on the agenda and never has been, because Rúben Amorim, as I see it, and I think as the men in suits see it, he's fine with what he's got, and also is the manager and he's there to improve the players. So there's the targets. We're not going out to go and get a midfield player because we don't end up getting a striker. I think if we don't get a striker because we don't get any sales in and any spare money, as I see it, I think they just won't go out and just purchase a midfielder because they've got a few spare quid. I don't see that, and I think that's the right thing to do. Rúben Amorim wants these players and he's going to work with them. There's some expensive players in that midfield. You know, the big problem in the midfield, I've just listened to Mason Mount talking about how the team spirit and everything, how they're all geared up. Qualifying for Europe, that's the aim. But Mason Mount's got a massive problem in there. £65 million. You know, what are you going to pay? 40, 50 million pound for another? And just load it up, load it up. We got Bruno in midfield where most people don't want him in midfield, but it looks as though that's where he's going to be. So buying for buying's sake, when Rúben Amorim's got players to work with and he's got to improve them, and he's got to get a game out of Mason Mount. And I did say, out of all the players, he's the one who's the major doubt going into next year, even though we've discussed it, Rúben Amorim's discussed it, that he likes Mason Mount, but where does he fit in the team? And
He
then
doesn't fit in the team. The summer transfer window has told us that by him going out and getting 2 number 10s who, in my eyes, start every single time over the current players we've got. And I do even mean Ahmad with that. I'd rather see Ahmad at right wing back. Plenty of grass to run into, the high intensity that he's got in closing down. He will make mistakes. He's only a young kid. He's not the finished article. But I'd like to see him at right wing back over Dalot and Mazraoui. And plus, it'll give you that attacking option as well, because his first thought is attack going forward. And I think we do need that based on what we've seen last season. Far too many times I've seen our defence with a back five constantly solid like that, and I don't want to see that this season. I want to see an attacking option from our wing backs, and that's going forward. Let the back three, let the oldie midfielder do with that side of the job in defending, counter attacks, etc. That's more than enough players, and we should be expecting players as well to win one-on-one duels. We don't need 2 or 3 players to be helping just one player out every single game.
Well, if you look at Kuna and Mbeumo, if you're saying them 2 players squeeze Mason Mount out, okay, if that is true, that Mason Mount is being squeezed out because of the 2 purchases we've had, then Rúben Amorim, as I see it as a coach and all the coaches around him, must have a plan to put Mason Mount somewhere else. And that's why I'm saying we're bringing in other £65 million he cost. We've just spent £130 million on 2 players to squeeze a £65 million player out. That, as I look at it, the logic and everything around it does not make sense unless the manager has got different ideas for Mason Mount this year, which we will see. And if we don't see Mason Mount in a different position, I have said, by signing Kuna and Mbeumo creates a problem. 5 players don't fit into 2. That's how I see it. So they must have a plan. I hope that's the case. That's why I don't see United going out there spending for spending's sake on a midfield player when we've got Bruno and Mbeumo, we've got Kuna, we've got Mason Mount, we've got Xerxes, we've got other players there, right, fighting for 2 places. So for me, spending in midfield and all that is out the window. 3 players and 1 we didn't get. And we're only going to get a striker now if we get sales. And that's it as I see it.
You talk about the plan for Mason Mount. The plan for Mason Mount at the start of the season will be warming the bench. He will be actually used for competition for places. And that's just me looking at it, that we've gone out and bought 2 quality number 10s. They will be starting for Manchester United. And obviously, competition for places, he's on the bench. It's up to him to prove himself. I mean, he's been here long enough now. Obviously, injuries have affected his career at Manchester United. So he's got to prove just his fitness going into this season, because there's no point Mason Mount starting a couple of games and all of a sudden he gets injured and then he changes the plans round again for the manager, having to swap things about. We've seen it far too many times last season. Players, just playing 60 minutes and loads of different changes happening in the team. I want to see a steady, settled side now from Rúben Amorim come this season, and he's got enough time in pre-season to find out his best starting 11. And for me, Mason Mount sits it out. Come the African Nations Cup, we'll lose the likes of Mbeumo, Ahmad, etc. Maybe that's the time then for Mason Mount to get his time to prove whether he can then start for the remaining games of the season in the second part. But for me, he's a bench warmer right now, Mason Mount, and he's got a hell of a lot to prove. And that's someone who I was very positive when Manchester United signed him, but it's just not worked out right now for him.
There's a lot of people out there will agree on that, on what you say, and I can't disagree with what you're saying, to be honest with you. But what I do see is the next 3 games in America, what we're playing, we might see something different, what might change our opinions. Kieran's given his opinion as he sees it right now, and it's very hard to disagree with that, to be honest with you. But the idea of who fits where and all that, we're about to see, and that's why I'm happy, and I've been happy, right, looking forward to this pre-season, right, looking forward to see what Rúben Amorim has to do to put the puzzles in, the jigsaw puzzle, and put it in the pieces in the right place. And that's why I'm excited about it. And that's why I spoke last week about this pre-season. The scoreline doesn't mean anything to me, whether we win or lose. Okay? If we lose, it'll be a disaster. We're rubbish with this, that, and the other. If we win, I've said it the other day, if we win, people are going, oh, it's only pre-season and all that. It's not about the score. It's not about the result. It's about getting fit, getting the team together and getting the pieces in the right place. And Mason Mount might surprise us. Well, Rúben Amorim might surprise us and fit Mason Mount in there. You might not even see a Casemiro. I'm just saying, you know, this is an opinion, how I see it. There's a lot of players fighting for a position. And Rúben Amorim, it's his problem and he has to deal with it, and he might surprise us all. That's why it's exciting as a football fan.
I think some people out there might say you'll get more games out of Rúben Amorim playing football than Mason Mount.
Oh, they will do.
He's got a lot to prove for me. And let's be honest as well, you know, put some balance on it. Rúben Amorim has mentioned a lot about Mason Mount as well, about his character, especially when he's been injured, and the fight that he's put in to get fit again. So he seems like a player who doesn't ruffle any feathers in the actual changing room. He's not a negative influence, etc. And I'm sure everyone inside the club is wanting Mason Mount to be fit come this season and play regular or be available regular. But I'm just going to go into the chat. Fred Grantham gifted 5 memberships earlier on.
Thank you.
5 people who've been gifted their memberships. Sorry, a big thank you to Fred. He's also just given another 5 memberships. So the 5 people have been given them memberships. Another thanks to Fred, the lad.
Busy morning, Fred. Top man.
Yeah, really busy, mate. So thank you for that. Darren Cox, thanks for your super chat. United need to be negotiating at least 2 striker deals at the same time to leverage the best price. Otherwise, get Danny Welbeck as a stopgap.
Well, this is the problem. They're not even negotiating a price for one striker, and there's a reason for that. They're only monitoring, and for me, they're waiting for money to come in. I agree. I've always said it's not one striker. United, with one striker. Come on. United need 2 strikers, 2 good strikers. And that is still with keeping with Højlund and seeing how he develops this year. And then a decision, hopefully, will be made. He's had 2 years, Højlund. But it's 2 strikers, United. But we can't do it. And people have to understand that. That's the reality of it. The reality was 30 million for Liam Delap. That's what they budgeted for. That's how I see it. I don't see it any other way. I can't. There's nothing out there what tells me to see it any other way. And I like to look at facts and everything and not too much speculation. I just look at how United went on it. 2, possibly 3. That's what Rúben Amorim was looking at. And we've got 2 out of the 3. And the only third one was because of the money, 30 million. We went for him.
I mean, I was just thinking about Kobbie Mainoo, to be honest with you. A lot of comments coming in about the midfield and all the support, and in particular, all the hype around Kobbie Mainoo in that breakthrough season under Erik ten Hag. It seems to have slowly disappeared. Why do you think that is? Because I think the boy's got more than enough talent.
Well, if you look at the 2 seasons, his breakthrough season, he had the freedom. He was able to go, keep the ball, try things out. Get in different positions, always wanted the ball. And then if you look at last season, the majority of last season, he was trapped. For me, that's, as a football fan, with my own eyes watching Kobbie Mainoo, he was trapped in a certain position, a position what sort of like stifled his creative football, his attacking flair. He's going in, and he has got some good ball control, some good close ball control, and he's tricky and he's quick with the eye to release a ball as well. But I think he was stifled last year, played in too many positions. His breakout year was fantastic. He got in the England squad.
Yeah, for such a young kid as well.
Yeah, no matter what age, right? He had a great season for a newbie, right? And he just had the freedom. And that's what Kobbie Mainoo needs. He needs the freedom, but he needs it up there. And last year, I was shocked at how many times, and I seen his shoulders slumped at times, and I don't blame him, because the kid, right, just wants to play football and get in there, and he has the ability to do it and create pressure and score goals, which we've seen. But last year, he wasn't put in the right position. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, because I just totally agree. The ability the lad's got and the potential of what he actually could be, and, you know, breaking into the Manchester United team at such a young age in a midfield area, which, you know, the midfield area, a lot of people say, you know, once you get a grip of that, you dominate the game in the midfield area, you tend to win the game. And, you know, the experience that he would have got from that already. I just think, how can you not try and fit a player like Kobbie Mainoo into the team, or at least improve him as a coach and coaching staff?
Yeah, well, listen, he's improved. He was just stifled for some unknown reason. And when you look at improving players coming through and all that, right? We're talking about a striker. Where's the strikers? Where's the strikers coming through for Manchester United? Okay.
Through the academy.
Through the academy and everything else like that, right? They're not there. They haven't been there. There's always like a load of hype about certain players coming through and centre forwards and all that, and they just don't make it at all. Yes, we've got Obi, a lot of hype. That lad's got a lot of work to do, and I feel as though like he shouldn't be thrown in there, okay? But really, when you look over the last 10 years, where is the development for a top striker coming through, which would have solved a lot of problems? We've had a couple of years where we've tried out, put a player in from the youth team, what's come through, a game here, a game there. It's never materialised. And when they've gone out on loan, they just haven't done it. I don't see it. And I see that as a big flaw in Manchester United. Yes, we get the odd player coming through, the youth into midfield and all that. You got the likes of Kobe and all that. You know, you could. I know you'd name a few more, but I just look at it and think the big failure at Manchester United, and I think everyone's to blame. Coaches, everything, youth coaches, you name it, the lot, the men in suits, the lot, failing to bring what we all desire, and that's a young player coming through the ranks to be a centre forward at Manchester United, and it's something what's been neglected and sort of, oh, he's all right in the youth. We'll push him on and we'll send him out on loan. Once these young players go out on loan, okay, as centre forwards, they just seem not to be able to do it. So there's a flaw. There's a flaw in the background, right? When it comes to a striker, certain players, certain positions are able to come through at some point and they're given the chances. Obi, there's fingers crossed for him. But do you know something? I look at it and I think that kid's got it tough.
I was giving a lot of credit before to Fred Crantham, who's a regular in our members club of gifting 10 memberships, but it was actually Derek, MUFC, who gifted them memberships. So a big apology to Derek out there, and it's much appreciated you gifting them memberships, mate. Also, a super chat that I missed out on earlier on. Not doing a great one today on the show, so do apologise. Bets United said, great show as always, boys. Moston Red here. The midfield worries me a lot. It's too weak. Keep up the good work. Best United YouTube channel around. Much appreciated for the kind words and everyone joining us as usual. Yeah,
I think the midfield... Look, listen, the midfield worries us all. We've all seen it. We've discussed it that many times. You know, everyone knows our thoughts on it. It's too wide open. People out there are always commenting, it's too wide open. It's too wide open. We need a sitting midfield player. Who is it? Who's the best one? Have we got one? We need one. So for me, the midfield is a massive problem. But I look at it in a different way now. We're coming up, right, to the first game against West Ham, pre-season in America, right, and it's time to look, time to be encouraged that Rúben Amorim can turn it round. If we go into West Ham, you look at something, and he'll play different players, okay, in different formations in that midfield. And then hopefully what you've got to say is, when he comes back from America, he knows his best 11. Everyone out there, not one person, us included, has been able to say what is Rúben Amorim's best 11. Never mind the midfield, best 11. He has to come back and tell us what that midfield is. That's the big worry for everyone.
Don't get me wrong, these two players I'm going to mention were Ten Hag signings, De Ligt and Agati. They've had their first season, they're bedding in time, what some people out there might give players in the first season. I'm expecting big things from the likes of De Ligt. I mean, this is a player who at one point was the captain at Ajax. People out there were talking that he was going to be one of the best centre-halves of his generation at his age group later on in life in a professional footballer. Agati as well, he was hyped up out there. I did think once he got into his rhythm at Manchester United around that October time, November, I thought we did see some good performances from Agati, but then he sort of dropped off a little bit towards the end of the season. Looked like he fell out of favour maybe with Rúben Amorim, especially for that Europa.
I look at De Ligt and I think, yeah, you're right, Kieran. And a lot of people out there are saying he's got to He's got to perform. I think he will improve. But the one player I'm going to stick on for improving is Lenny Yoro. I am confident for Lenny Yoro. I think he's going to get more freedom. He's got more confidence. He's got the time under his belt now. He's got used to the carnage and chaos, what's gone on, right? And it's proper carnage and chaos. That's been swept away. So that's good for him behind the scenes with everything what's gone on. And I think on the pitch, I think he had a difficult time, little bit of niggly injuries here and there. An illness, I think, once. I do believe that Lenny Yoro, you're going to see more of a footballer from him as well, more going forward, because that's what has to happen. The players at the back have to be closer to the midfield, and they have to be closer to the forwards to keep the ball, to get the ball quickly forward. And I think Lenny Yoro, I think you'll see him pushing up more, but using his football skills, because I think he's got it. So that, for me, is the player I think we're going to be shocked by the improvement. But he is right, Kieran. De Ligt has to improve. He's got the experience. He's been at the clubs and that. So there's no excuses for De Ligt now. Fully fit, bang, away you go. And he should be leading him at the back with Lenny Yoro expressing himself. And I think he's going to turn a corner, Lenny Yoro, and shock a lot of people.
Yeah, I was impressed. I think it went under the radar a little bit. I know it's the first game of pre-season, but, you know, in that second half, ping 2 diagonal balls, pinpoint out to the other side, a couple of balls that he'd done for Delo as well, and spotting that run and executing the pass. I mean, for me next season, you know, let me know what your thoughts are, but my first choice back three would be Lenny Yoro on the right-hand side, De Ligt in the middle, and Martinez. On the right-hand side, you can alternate between Yoro and Majraoui. In the centre, you can alternate between De Ligt and Maguire. And on that left-hand side, I'll alternate between Martinez and Aidan Heaven. But I'm sure that if Luke Shaw stays fit, I think Rúben Amorim may try and fit him in somewhere on that left-hand side, possibly as a wing-back. I'm not too sure, but that would be my first choice back three. Lee Jones has give us a super chat. Much appreciated, my mate. Says, great show, as always. Much appreciated. Derek, MUFC and Fred Crampton, I think, have come back again and gifted 5 memberships apiece. The 5 people from Fred's side and Derek's side who've been gifted them memberships. A big thank you to them, the legends.
I think we're a fully fit side, 3 at the back, Martinez, De Ligt and Yoro. That's it, without a doubt. For me, that's the strongest. But my worry is if them 3 aren't fit. We know Martinez ain't fit. He's not training. He's doing his own personal thing and that, so he's still a while away, right? But them 3 there, I think once that combination's there, I think you'll see a different Manchester United. But my worry is anyone else replacing them 3 is a worry, and I still feel we need a centre-half. But we're not going to get one, because I've stated the money's not there. The target is a striker, and we haven't got the money. So if a deal can be done at the end of the transfer window for a striker, that's fine. But I don't think United are looking for someone at the back. I just don't. I just think it's a striker, and that's it. But for me, what's vital is getting Martinez back, because he's just a different character. And I think him and De Ligt together, I think, will be excellent. And then the Yoro, who's an improving Yoro, I think that'll just be an absolutely great back 3 for United.
Yeah, big season for Martinez as well. When you look past, you know, the last couple of seasons with injuries, etc. But on his day, I agree, his character. A lot of us were mentioning a future captain for United, and I think that'll be vital, him staying fit this season to give a bit more balance and maybe a bit more confidence to the likes of Onana, who could start in the sticks for United next season. Do you know what I mean? And I think with a settled back 3 or a back 4 at any teams, if you get that, you do get some good results, though. Any team that goes on and wins the league always needs that strong, steady back 4. Never mind about up top.
You talk about injuries. You can look round the team, right? And it's always like, oh, no, he's injured, he's injured, he's injured. You know, you could talk about 7 players who have been out injured throughout the season, and that has to stop. So let's hope that the people, whether it's the medical people, the trainers, or anything like that, we've had a nightmare of injuries over the last few years. And obviously, I look at Harry Maguire, and that's why I always worry about the centre-half. I worry about Harry Maguire. You know, he should have been sold a long time ago. And you can't knock Harry Maguire coming back from the hill he's had to climb. Do you know what I mean? So fair play to him. But his body can't take it. He said it himself. And then I look at the other players. Is there really quality there to take us back into what Mason Mount has just described, and probably all the players are talking about it? We're looking forward to qualifying for Europe next year. That's what they want. And I just don't think the squad is good enough for it. But that's my own opinion. And I've given that. And I do believe 8th, if we get 8th, with how I look at it right now, this minute right now, I think 8th is really good.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, would getting a striker in, a proven one, improve that position though for you?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because what it is, you geared up then, it's attack. Just attack. We're going for it. Like the old days, Manchester United. There would be no excuses. Imagine this, right? Get a striker, a good striker in. There is no excuses. There cannot be any excuses. Because the reason being, right, is because the men in suits and the manager have said the only problem we've got with this squad and these players is we can't put the ball in the back of the net. That's what they're actually telling us by going for these 3 signings. We would be up there, Champions League and all that. That's what they're saying, right? Our only problem was scoring goals. So they've gone out there and rectified what they see as the whole problem, and that's scoring goals. So to get the striker, that's the final nail, okay, for Champions League football. That's how I see it. And they would demand that. I think they would demand it from Rúben Amorim. Right, but the fans would demand it. There would be no excuses. And when you look at the players behind, what are capable, like Bruno, like your Mainu, like your Ahmad, right? The goal scorers, they want to go forward. There would be no excuses. We shouldn't really worry about qualifying for Europe, okay, on the back of having a striker, a proven one, who can put the ball in the net.
You always need that defensive midfielder, though, and is Casemiro and Agati good enough to give you that balance so when the team do attack, any transitions and counter-attacks, we're able to combat that. But I'll go back to earlier on in the video. I mean, surely players can like upstand one-on-ones, you know, the duels, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to win your duels as well. And, you know, for my first choice back three, Yoro, De Ligt and Martinez, when he does become fit and available again, I think that should be good enough. Do you know what I mean? And that's the one thing we want to see. We do want to see an improvement with goals going in the back of the net. Well, the ball, shall I say.
There'd be no excuses if we get a striker. I don't think there's an excuse we're getting Kuna and Mbumo now. But I look at Agati. Agati, for me, is the man. He wants the ball from the goalie. He wants the ball from the back three, from the defence. Okay? He can turn. He's got the speed. I want him sat there, going to the left, go to the right. I've seen him do it. He didn't have a pre-season at all. So he was in and out of form. But lots of players were played in different positions and everything. For me, Casemiro is a no-no. 100% a no-no. You might get 2 games out of him, but he's too slow. He can't turn. Yes, he's looking fitter and meaner, right? But it means nothing. Once your legs have gone, which his have, and no one can tell me they haven't, right? Then you're not getting it back, not at that age. He can still have the vision for a long ball. He could go up there, but he can't get back. Agati has to sit there. That's the job. Get the striker and have Agati sat there, okay? With the personnel we've got, I look at Agati as the man who is just like screening that back three in the defence. That's how I see it.
Yeah, Casemiro, for me, like you say, he's just not got that pace anymore that you need in a centre midfield area, especially in the Premier League. Agati can cover more ground, but Casemiro's positioning at times is good. He's still got it up there, but maybe the legs aren't working to what the brain wants it to do. So there's a lot of people out there who are still saying we need that defensive midfielder. You've still got the likes of Sesko Kone as well in the academy, who's getting hyped up that he could be potential in the first team squad for next season. But Ron the Baptist has given 5 memberships. Thanks, Ron, for gifting them 5 memberships. And the 5 people who've been gifted them memberships, a big thank you to Ron. Wrap it up with your final thoughts.
My final thoughts, just a striker. And it's only on sales. It's as simple as that. I don't see it any other way, but we've all got to be positive. You know, I've talked about the back three. I talked about putting Agati there, but Agati sitting in there because he hunts players out. When you really watch Agati sometimes got man of the match as far as I was concerned last year. Okay, he did some great work. Okay, he's just let down because it was wide open, and that's the problem. I've him sat there, but it's a different ball game this year. We are on the attack. We're there to score goals. There should be no excuses. It's goals we're going to get. We're going to be in the game. And once you score that goal, this is how I see it. Once you score that goal, especially an early goal, right, then the pressure's off. The pressure's on the opposing team. And we don't score early goals. And that's why the pressure's always on United. And that's why it always goes pear-shaped in that midfield. He's got to be positive, and he's got to come back from that pre-season, Rúben Amorim, knowing what his first 11 is and who that sitting midfielder is, because that's what it needs.
I think what we didn't have as well in attack last season was enough players who could actually carry the ball, dribble past players, take players on. I think it was a lot of players having to run into positions to free up space. And I think with the likes of Mbeumo and Cunha, you know, they're players who can run at players and take players on. Whereas last year, we only really had Ahmad, Garnacho as well, but he wasn't as positive as what Ahmad was.
Here's what I'll say, okay? And I've said it a few times, so I'm going to remind you. I could not believe the amount of times Rúben Amorim played players out of their wrong position, okay? That's a no-no. You cannot have that, okay? Players were being run round. It wasn't working well. Headless chickens running round, okay? But players have to be in the right position. Not a right back playing left back. Not a right wing back playing left wing back. Not someone out on the left. Cunha, next thing you know, he's on the right-hand side or he's back in the midfield. Can't have that. Just can't have that, okay? Because it'll fail. Okay, and the problem last year was there's a lot of players who didn't care.
You've got the players like Cunha and Mbeumo who take players on, especially in the wide areas. You'd likely see more crosses as well into the box, and will that help the likes of Rasmus Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee as well if he's played as a striker? But I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that we do get a striker in this summer transfer window. Fred Grantham has said, smash the like button, guys.
Yes.
It helps the channel. And subscribe if you're new. You're doing my job there, mate, and it's absolutely perfect. So I appreciated everyone joining us today, getting involved. Continue the conversation as well in the comments section. Smash the like button, like Fred says, and we'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you.